Their speed, status, and style all in one fast package.
To me, the quintessential sports car.
Many agree, having a list starting with one name.
When I think sports car, the first thing I think of is Porsche.
Their history is long, their popularity eternal.
I had my first one, a 1953 coupe, and I had 7 Porsches over the years. I'm pretty much a Porsche guy.
Porsche delivers.
Get in a convertible, go for a drive up the coast, you feel a whole lot better about everything in your life.
Today on Rides, it's the story and the glory of Porsche, featuring a track run by TV's funniest car fiend, Jay Leno.
You come to a track like this and you can take this car to the absolute limit, which means if you go over it, boom, you're in trouble.
Jay races as a Porsche Spider evolves, the ride immortalized by James Dean.
He was a good driver, and so he bought a Spider, and he planned to race it and campaign it in 55, 56.
From one icon to another, it's about stars and cars.
James Dean was a better driver than I was in a slower car. I'm worse driver than James Dean in a faster car, so that sounds like danger right there.
Jay even has a name for it all.
I guess I would be rebel without a clue.
So it's a fast Leno, the James Dean Spider, and Porsche. Hitting the straightaway here on Rides. The first one arrived in 1948. Decades later, their following defines the word devoted.
Once you drive the car, you're totally hooked.
Whether it's the street car or the race car, or the street car that's racing, Porsche has a mystique all its own.
Porsche is one of the most dependable cars on the planet, you know. So they take this car that actually works really well, looks great, it's fast, handles good, it's quiet, and has an extreme cult following to it. It's pretty easy to, to realize why everybody would fall in love with them.
Where there's thrill-seeking in status, there's Porsche. And where's there more thrill-seeking in status than Hollywood?
Porsche and the precision that the factory has been building into their cars for years and years and years, I think that's really the reason why they really picked up in Hollywood.
Whether it's an older model or a new arrival, Porsches symbolize the pinnacle year after year.
So all along the way, they've always come up with an exotic car. Now they have the new Carrera, which is very, very fast.
In the supercar world, we have made with the Carrera GT the ultimate mark.
It's a street car that can hit 200 miles per hour.
You can crash easily at that speed. I'm telling you, from being out there myself, it is easy to crash at that speed.
Porsche is in that elite class where they supply the best of both worlds, an accomplishment made real by few cars.
There's some cars that look pretty but don't perform as well. There's some cars that perform very well but aren't quite pretty. This car's got both of those features.
Like the original Porsche Spider. Today, less than 100 exist, but they are being reproduced. One huge Porsche fan is Jay Leno, and here in his Burbank shop, Jay plays with a new toy. Right now, it's cutting Jay's logo out of metal with a jet of water.
It's cutting the chin now. That's the most delicate procedure.
With the addition of this new water jet, Jay now has every machine building tool in the book.
Hey! How cool is that? Oh, the 550's here.
Right, those reproduced Spiders. One is here now for Jay to check out.
Very cool, you guys.
Hi.
It's just such a great car.
Isn't it good? These are the 550 Spiders that we built. This
Right,
is,
right. Open the hood. Let's see what you got
Okay,
here.
yeah, let's do that. These cars were originally aluminum, and so here you can feel a wall here.
It is thin.
It's not too bad.
Because when you get hit, you don't want to have a lot of protection.
Yeah, so you
between
gotta
and
not, can't do that.
Suburban. Let's take it for a spin.
Want to go for a spin?
I'd love to.
Let's go. I'll jump in.
Pretty nice little car. Oh, wonderful car. Very light. It feels like a lot more than 150 horsepower. Handles really well. Boy, it's a lot of fun to drive. It really is. You can see why Dean was attracted to these. You can see why this is a car that really made Porsche what it is in the United States. I mean, it really, this was the giant killer. This is the little car that beat the big cars, you know.
Now Jay wants to show off his Porsche.
Let me show you this thing. Well, I guess this would be kind of like the great-grandson of that car. You can see the family resemblance. This is the most amazing car I've ever had.
Jay's tested it at a pro track.
This is just like the car I drove at Talladega. Porsche brought one down. Obviously, we had to do the Michelin racing tires and stuff because you're running 200 miles an hour. It's kind of like your honeymoon. You really get to know this thing better than you ever did in your life. And you really bond with the car. Where could you drive a car 200 miles an hour, a street car?
You can go 200 miles per hour here. These are the 30-degree banks of Talladega Superspeedway, where Porsche and Leno set out to test the new Carrera GT, a 600-horse V10 six-speed street-legal race car that goes for nearly $500,000. It's one of the fastest production cars ever built, and here at Talladega, it's looking to make and break some records. For Jay, it's about going fast in a world-class ride. For the manufacturer, it's about the long-running connection between racing and Porsche.
Well, the purpose of the record run is to reaffirm what Porsche stands for. We have built some of the most fantastic performing cars ever, and we've got one right here in the Carrera GT. It will do some really amazing things, and it's a car that you can drive off the showroom floor that's capable of some pretty amazing speeds.
Porsche doesn't recommend racetrack speeds for their buyers. Those are numbers for pros.
It's telling me I have a flat tire on the rear right at 92 PSI.
Pros like David Donahue, son of legendary racer Mark Donahue. 3 decades ago, Mark set a record for Porsche at this track.
Mark Donahue in 1975 set the world speed closed course record at Talladega in a 917.30 Porsche at 221 miles an hour.
A similar car is in this impressive collection.
The 917 that I've got is a 1972 917-10 Turbo. It's a short wheelbase car, but it's the first car that they raced that had the turbocharged engine in it. It's the car that Mark Donahue worked with the racing team to develop the car. They made 2 of them that year. This was the survivor. The car dominated the 72 Can-Am series.
Today, David Donahue will teach Jay how to race this new Porsche, asking the question, can a comedian handle this much car?
David got top billing because he's the expert. I'm the idiot.
To car guys, he's nothing of the sort.
Jay Leno is the quintessential Porsche Carrera GT customer. He's the kind of person who really appreciates a good machine and has some experience behind the wheel, but he's not a race driver.
But today, he will race on a legendary track.
Well, we're here at Talladega Speedway, which is pretty historic in itself. When I was a kid, I used to, this was the place, this is the cool place, the Superbirds and all, the big Torinos and all that stuff would run. I mean, it's a really, you kind of see it on TV, you know how big it is. It's not till you get here you realize how big it is. It's pretty imposing. I say imposing, which is another word for scary.
Scary, imposing, whatever you call it, some drivers have had fatal races here at Talladega.
The corners are 30 degrees. I mean, you can barely even walk up the corner.
It's a track that even has Jay thinking about his night job.
I told NBC that they think I'm on a go-kart track. They think I'm at Malibu Grand Prix running go-karts. Someone said, be careful, those things go about 40 miles an hour. I said, oh, I'll take it easy.
We know he won't take it easy in this car, and he's not here to play around.
This is serious stuff. You bring an idiot, more money than brains comedian down here and put him in a fast car. And, you talk to these guys, and they take this job very, very seriously. I mean, this is a high-speed track. A car like this, but you're never going to reach the speeds this car can do on the road. But you come to a track like this, and you can take this car to the absolute limit, which means if you go over it, boom, you're in trouble. So it's not something to joke around. Like, I'm not going to have any whiskey before I go out.
Jay wants to drive this car on a track. He owns the same model, and he'll never be able to race his car on the streets of Burbank.
Well, I have a Porsche Carrera, and I love it. And I consider it the ultimate street car. It's, it's got a proper gearbox, doesn't have the silly video game paddle shifter nonsense. I mean, it's a proper car that you drive. And I take it out in the street, and it's the fastest car out there. But on the street, you don't come anywhere near the limits.
Well, he might not race in Burbank, but he does go fast.
On the street, maybe you hit 100, 125. It's not the same as 200.
And it's that number that still impresses Jay.
The fact that now you have a street car that can do 200 miles an hour like that is pretty amazing to me.
Leno isn't the first star connecting speed and Porsche. James Dean's love of his 550 Spider is legendary. The car was a part of the actor's untimely death in 1955. As Jay prepares to race a Porsche, Dean and his Spider are on his mind.
I guess James Dean was sort of rebel without a cause. I guess I would be rebel without a clue.
Let's hope Jay has a clue about what he's getting into, because hitting around 200 on a track claiming its share of fatalities, well, that is nothing to joke about. You've seen them on the streets and on the racetrack. Porsche has a long, multi-layered history, and if you've owned one, or even more, you're a student regarding all things Porsche.
I had a RS America, early 90s car. And what I loved about it was all of the sound deadening was pulled out of it. It had actually door pulls instead of door handles. It was about as stripped down of a Porsche as you could get. And you'd be amazed at what pulling all of that weight out of a car could do. I had more fun with that car than anything. Just sold it, missed it. I think I'm in the market for another one.
He's from a family of Porsche fans, knowing there's one good way to unwind after a long day of toiling in Hollywood. The method? Get in your Porsche and take off.
My dad was Ricky Nelson, and he was a pretty big star. He had a weekly television show that was the #1 show around. It actually ran for 14 years, and he's the 5th all-time record seller in history. And what he used to do in his off time was drive these. This was his passion. He was a car nut.
Another car nut was the late James Dean, a star who ended up becoming forever identified with the Porsche 550 Spider.
This car right here, the 550 Spider, this is a replica of the car that James Dean met his end in, but what a lot of people don't know is that he had an awful lot of natural ability as a race car driver. He won a lot of races in this car.
Another actor also raced with Porsche. He was one fast-moving star.
Steve McQueen was so infatuated with the car. He actually raced a car at Sebring in 908. This was unheard of at that time for an actor to be able to go out and race a car and actually nearly win the race.
This is still a fantastic handling car. It's very stripped down, very light car, a lot of power for the weight, and I just think it's a really sexy line. It's a lot of fun to drive.
And all that fun comes from a California shop known as Automotive Legends, the home of fiber steel. They continue the legacy of this sports car, a ride Porsche stopped turning out over 50 years ago. The operation here is a testament to the passion of two Spider enthusiasts. They recreate the body in fiberglass and then match the original ride with every last detail. They met after Russ Rodriguez found a reproduction of his dream car.
The body lines, I could tell by looking at the body that the mold was taken off of a real Spider. Every little detail was there. And I said, I got to have this car. So I purchased the car, and together with the car came some literature and the original invoice. And there was a name on there that I had recognized, and it was Will Cashin.
Russ knew of Will from the close community of Spider fans.
This is the first of the few that I had made originally as replicas. And they were really, really great little cars. And I decided to be a purist at the time and to make them in Porsche's image as best as I possibly could.
His best became the gold standard for Spider replicas.
It was a pretty expensive undertaking, but we were able to manage it through 200 cars. And then I moved away from it and started engineering for Detroit for large car companies.
Meanwhile, Russ was looking for the man who made those Spiders.
Little by little, I started gathering more information. I found more, and I found some newsprint that showed a picture of Will in the car. I thought, wow, this is really the guy. A little more hair, but a little younger, but that's him, that's Will. So we, got together, started talking. I said, hey, I said, I feel kind of weird. I feel like a stalker. I got this file here. It's got contracts and pictures of you and your company and your car, and I've got one of your cars, and I think we need to start building this car again. This car is beautiful. All the detail, it's right on to a real 550. This is what we got to do.
And Spider fans soon learned they could buy a 550.
Now Russ and I have pretty much taken over and we're back making them again. And so it's always the car, it's always the focus of the car, and this is the car that started it all.
And each build starts with care, because these rides are handcrafted, with some pieces coming from manufacturers who also handcraft their parts.
We actually focus our company building a car much like Porsche did, because the process worked in the 50s as well as it works now. We actually have the bodies manufactured and coach built.
And while that body might come together elsewhere, many of the parts are created here.
We basically manufacture all the parts and accessories from fiberglass to full interiors, leather, vinyl. We do aluminum interiors. We make mirrors, helmet fairings. We also do all the final assembly here, where we're putting all the components together and doing customization as the customers require them, down to lowering the jack, starting the motor up, and driving them out the door.
They do it because there are many Spider fans, and they deliver to those who love the 550.
In 1956, in the 50s, I raced Porsche Speedsters with California Sports Car Club, and I had a started pay job and didn't have a lot of money. A Speedster cost $3,000. A Spider cost $9,000. I always wanted one, and the top racer guys had them, and I was a good driver. I thought, God, if I could only drive one of those things, I could show them what I could do.
There aren't many street cars that also let you show off your pro racing skills.
Spiders were very fast. They won international races all over the world, and a 1500cc engine, they would compete with 3-liter Ferraris and Jaguars, and very, very fast, nimble cars.
For George, owning a Spider today means having gear like turbochargers and intercoolers boosting the power.
It'll just drive out to 100, it's so fast.
Part of their speed comes from a light fiberglass body that's worked until it's perfect.
One of our areas of expertise is getting these cars to be as tight and as straight as possible.
Tight and straight are important, but so is overall perfection when it comes to a ride of this quality. It's work that takes time.
Now, originally they used to have just a strip of leather on here on the original 550s. They were just riveted on there. We did a couple cars like that, and it looked really cool, really original. But man, every time you hit a bump and you get a little bit of lift on the rear, the sound would just come right through. So for practicality reasons, we go with this neoprene foam that's just, it's not exactly correct for a 550, but man, it just makes it really hum nice.
Purists might balk at neoprene foam replacing leather, but that's not the only element being modernized. And since Russ isn't restoring an original, he makes no apologies.
If it is an original, one of 90 ever produced, then the right way would be to put it to original specs. But we're talking about new cars that are being created now to follow that line and that design. So why not do it the way you like? That's my opinion. Like I said, it's never going to be an original car because it's like a Picasso. It's got to be signed by the artist. It's got to have a serial number that matches the original production one. These don't offer that, but they offer everything else for about, $700,000 cheaper.
The new price is right for Jay, having a blast in this recreated Spider, begging the question, where's he headed? Well, we do know. He's bringing us back to Talladega Superspeedway, where he'll take a new Carrera GT on the track to see how fast he can push it. As the time draws near, Jay knows it's not fun and games, with a fast car on a hazardous track manned by a non-professional driver. Right now, the funny man isn't laughing.
It's pretty serious. I mean, this is everybody jokes around, they police down and go, hey, listen, this is really dangerous. And you go, hey, yeah, I know. So, I'm not sure what goes through my head. I'm anxious to get on the track and see what it feels like.
Jay will be guided by pro driver David Donahue. Weeks ago, David tested the new Porsche on this speedway. It's not Jay's first track drive, but it is his first Carrera GT at Talladega.
I drove the pace car in Daytona a couple of years ago, 2002, the Firebird, and he hit maybe 145 on the banking, and that was pretty scary. But this is 200. That's a lot faster.
Right now, there might be second thoughts driving through the mind of Jay Leno. There are Ferraris and there are Lamborghinis, prized for looks, speed, and elegance. Of course, everyone knows there's another member of that elite club, and this car isn't just as cool as a Red Stallion or a Lambo. It also has an amazing reputation when it comes to heading down the track and winning. It's been that way for quite some time.
Growing up, always as a kid, I'd always build models, and you'd go to whatever, the toy store, Kmart or whatever, and you go down the aisle, and there's 50 different models of really cool Porsche race cars. And the reason there's 50 different models of really cool Porsche race cars is back then there was 50 really cool Porsche race cars that were winning everything.
Today, he doesn't settle for toys. He has the actual cars.
962 is basically the sister car to the car that Derek Bell and Hans Stuck won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in, and it's one of the factory team 962s. It's never been raced. It's basically a brand new 962 that was just never had to be used. I haven't started it yet. I suspect it sounds really good.
He loves the racers and street models like the legendary Spider.
I love the 550 Spider. I was always intrigued with the whole James Dean story about him dying in one on the way up to race cars in Northern California.
Rusty was one of the few who owned an original 550.
It was a 1954 Le Mans prototype 550 Spider, so it was one of 4 cars that Porsche built for the 24 Hours of Le Mans effort, and it was the only surviving one with the original engine, gearbox, bodywork, and everything, and it was just about a perfect car.
Today, any hope of owning a 550 comes by way of a replica from Will and Russ. Russ will never stop making speedsters. It's a passion he remembers acquiring.
When I was a young kid, I went to a car show and I saw my first speedster, and I saw that little windshield and the little side windows, and the top was up, and I thought, man, it looked like a little chop top, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
I read a lot of books about Porsche when I was young, and there was a little bit of cars in the movie, James Dean and all that. I heard about it. And a friend of mine in high school had a car, and I fell in love with Porsches.
By the time I was 18, I bought my first speedster. Total rust bucket, had to do all the restoration, all the work on it, and kind of taught myself how to do a lot of the work, asked a lot of questions. Then years later, I saw my first Spider, and I thought that was the ultimate car. Bought a used one, an old fixer-upper, did some work to it, and at the time nobody was making any kind of parts or accessories for it. So as I was researching through the books, I saw all the parts that were missing, so I began to fabricate them.
That is loving a car, and it led to a livelihood.
I had a lot of people come up to me and start wanting to buy parts, so it kind of turned into a business. Started making extra parts to cover some of the mold costs and the tooling costs, and soon enough I was doing it full-time in the garage.
It evolved into a business creating reproductions for those who can't find or afford a 550.
These cars, because they're affordable to drive, you know, it's not a $50,000 or $100,000 motor that you'd be scared to blow. You can actually drive the car and you experience life. I bought my first Spider and it was like, well, wait a minute, if anything happens to this car, I can get another one. I don't have to baby it and take care of it forever. So I started driving my Spider with the mentality of this is about having fun.
Today, these replicas are built for fun, but 50 years ago, Porsche built them to win races and set records. Ask Will.
In 1955, Porsche had taken a 550 Spider and designed it for a racetrack called Avis in Germany. They expected to have a top speed of 165 miles an hour. This was unheard of because the engine was only mere 1,500 cc's and 110 horsepower. The racetrack was a hand brick-laid racetrack with extremely high banks like Talladega. But what had happened is the driver, whose name was von Frankenberg, had lost control of the car, and the car went airborne. He fell out of the car and lived to tell about the story, and actually lived to be an old guy. Porsche's continued interest in setting world-class records is what this whole process is of bringing the Carrera GT to Talladega.
Porsche also brought Jay Leno to see how far you can push the Carrera GT.
Hey, it's a pajama party. This is like before and after Slim Fast commercial.
Well, we should probably get this thing moving.
Let's do it.
The weather's good.
2 GTs are readied with special tires and suspension. There's also two-way radio helmets so Jay and David can communicate. The first run will allow Jay to get familiar with the track.
I know what I'm in for, that's just it. He doesn't.
I'm in the child safety seat.
It only takes a couple laps to educate Jay.
He's got the same line going into each corner. I mean, exactly. But you know, you kind of get used to the track. You realize turn 3 is kind of the rock and roll part. You get in there and you know, you kind of feel it drumming where the pavement's a little rough. And after a while, I could tell when he was on the stripes and not on the stripes. This thing, you run over a dime, you can tell if it's head or tails. You know?
And now it's time for Jay to get into his own racer, with the first test involving the volume of his headset.
Tell me when the static goes away.
Well, we had a...
You screwing with me, or was it really loud?
I can hear plenty of static.
Really?
It's really loud.
Is it worse there or better?
Ow! Ow!
Jay wonders what he got himself into. On this next run, he'll still ride shotgun, but the car will hit over 150 miles per hour.
2 burgers, large fry, chocolate shake.
One last joke before showtime. Even for a car guy like Jay, it's a lot to take in.
It's a whole sensory kind of overload, you know. It's not often you look over and you see, oh, 160, 170 on the speedometer, you know. And then he says, you know, when we go fast, it'll be different. Oh, all right. Okay, fine. When we go fast, it'll be a little bit different.
It can be fairly intense, especially the first couple laps, so we taking it kind of easy. We were going, what, 160?
160. Taking it easy. Going 160. Yeah. Just looking for a place to park.
This car really gets up and goes, so it's, you know, everyone thinks of it as a straight line standing start, but it's a straight line standing start on a closed course, which means it has to be a circular course. So he's going to end up going through a corner hauling the mail, and he's got to make sure he's got to place the car right and be very gentle with the steering.
At 170, the slightest twitch to the steering can cause a crash. 2 identical cars, black and silver. David preps the silver ride, and the drivers will trade off. In race car math, the tough numbers are those after the already high ones.
160 is fairly fast, but when you get above that, it's much more significant than people think. I mean, everyone thinks, oh, big deal, you know, if you do 190 or something around Talladega, but I'm telling you, it really is a big deal to go around at that speed here.
I think only an idiot wouldn't be afraid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why he's a professional.
Jay, now it's your turn to sit behind the wheel, in the driver's seat.
If I crash, it's his fault.
Time to make or break some records. At Talladega Superspeedway, Porsche attempts to set new records with the new Carrera GT. Their drivers, pro racer David Donahue and a comedian.
When you're in, you know, with a driver like David, obviously you feel like you're in good hands. Let's see how brave he is when I'm driving.
Staying relaxed, because you can't feel what's going on in the car if you're tensed up in a knot. You gotta stay relaxed to be able to.
But there's a physical aspect to it too. Like you have to train, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like bowling where you see fat guys, you know, drinking beer and eating pizza while they're doing the sport, you know.
Yeah. And when you're going fast, you know, they see your pants, which normally might see, you know, 150 to 200 pounds, is going to be seeing 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Just from your own body weight.
Right. I have great respect for these guys. I mean, it's not, race car driving's like sex. All guys think they're good at it until you talk to the girl and they go, not really. It's the same thing with a race car, Race car, oh yeah, you're great, but, when you get with a real pro, you see the real difference between regular guys.
Jay will drive under David's watchful eye, who will instruct from the passenger seat. They'll move faster than 170 miles per hour, and David knows what that can lead to.
You can crash easily at that speed. I mean, I'm telling you, from being out there myself, it is easy to crash at that speed.
Can you hear me okay?
Some say the skill to race isn't in your head or hands, but rather it's under your lap belt.
It's all what's down there.
Well, I guess I might as well pack it in right now.
Jay's already hitting 165. Remember, the car is stock, but for a 5-point racing harness and Michelin Pilot tires filled with nitrogen instead of air.
No, you were doing great. I mean,
I hit a deer on turn 4. Where the hell that come from?
Riding in a fast car is different than driving a fast car.
If you were a passenger out there, I'm pretty confident that you wouldn't be very comfortable in the passenger seat. I wasn't. And I was telling him what to do, and I knew what was going on. So, like I said, I'm much more comfortable not in the passenger seat and watching him go around by himself.
And now, that's exactly what Jay will do, flying solo. But first, David has some final advice.
When you do your first start, remember the tires will cool down a bit. Okay. So you'll be hauling the mail into one. It may not have the same feeling when you get in there. So just be careful a couple times around and you'll get the tires out.
Okay.
So after 3 solo laps, the team here is impressed.
I'm not lifting at all hardly in the corner. Right. I'm trying to keep it 170 all the way around, that's 172 perfect. All the way around.
That's perfect. Oh, he's hauling the mail, that's for sure. 3 laps at 170, that's impressive. Even for a comedian, that's impressive.
Porsche always built cars to win races. 30-year-old racers like these dispensed with safety gear to shave weight and gain speed.
If you look at these cars, the guys who drove these were absolute giants of men. It's got like 40 gallons of fuel on each side of it. It's the side impact device. So it's not like modern day cars where there's big roll cages and all that great stuff. You just got hit in this thing and you died.
These racers are from the same family as the new Carrera GT. And that GT traces its roots back to the fast 550 Spider, the car still associated with James Dean to this day.
James Dean, I think, and this car represent cool. What we've done is we've recreated this car for people who are interested in psychologically feeling a part of Hollywood and part of Hollywood's history.
And they've recreated it, addressing every detail.
The 130 on the door is James Dean's racing number. The stripes were created basically at Porsche, but were really indoctrinated with James Dean's design. He was interested in having the stripes, and of course, he did his own little things like put Little Bastard on the engine compartment.
Will knows there's more to the legend than the car.
We're not really here to try to solve the mystery of James Dean's death and of the notorious car that disappeared and all the parts that disappeared. We're just here to build replicas.
And that's what they do at Automotive Legends. The shop where Will's business partner Russ sees to the details that make the cars feel authentic.
Had a couple of customers early on that had original Spiders, so I was able to go to their house and take measurements and make drawings and start reproducing a lot of the fine parts, like the leather straps for the rear bonnet We even have the leather straps for the front hood, which is very rare. Only a few of the race cars ever did run them on the front.
Of course, all these pieces need to be made just for the recreations.
These are reproduction 550 lenses. They have the exact pattern as the originals did. In the early days, a lot of people used to use trailer lights, and it just wasn't cutting it, so we went ahead and had these reproduced. This has been a real nice piece to have in the last couple of years.
In spite of Dean's fame, the car history is actually more about Porsche.
The things that came out of the Porsche factory at the time were unique cars. One car that was created was called a Schumannwagen. That car was produced originally for the German government, for the German army. It was a Jeep-type vehicle that would go in the water. And what Porsche did is, because their resources were minimum at the time in the early 50s, they would take parts from other cars. And in this case, the 550 Spider inherited a turn signal lens assembly from the Schumannwagen.
Some parts represent working machinery, with the emphasis on represent.
Basically what we're doing here is the original 550 had an oil cooler inside the body mounted right here to cool the engine off. The more modern Volkswagen motor, which has a little better performance, doesn't require a front-mounted oil cooler. But to give it the authentic look of the grille, we like to add this panel to replicate that original look of the oil cooler grille.
Then there's the engine, arriving with a lot of history.
In 1953, really important engineer in Germany at the time, named Dr. Furman, designed a four-cam engine for Porsche. The motor was called the Carrera motor, and it was designed specifically for the Spider. But as far as horsepower, it really wasn't that great of an engine.
Today's updated version has improved performance.
This engine produces about 155 horsepower. The original Carrera 4-cam engine only produced 115 horsepower.
But the light weight of the body and chassis made for a quick car.
Weighing in at only 1,250 pounds with a 155 horsepower engine gives it that power to weight ratio.
From the Spider to the Carrera, it's back to the track, where David is getting serious about setting a record with one of those GTs.
I haven't really gone flat out yet.
But now he will. This ride flies in part thanks to lightweight construction combining carbon fiber, magnesium, and high-strength steel. It's fast. It should be, generating 605 horsepower. After speeding fast on the track himself, Jay has more respect for pro drivers than ever.
It's a talent. It's being able to, I mean, I look at those guys study corners the way you might study the cashier at the mini mart, you know, go, wow, that's unbelievable. I mean, you know, I'm just kind of, to me, it's a big oval. These guys have broken it down into each tiny section.
Yeah, all they did was mess around with some alignment. But the car's really stable. It's really nice. I think as the track got warm, I think it kind of came to us, as opposed to going the other way. So it was a good run, but we're rubbing a little bit in the right front.
David doesn't look at the speedometer while driving. That would be dangerous. To ensure accuracy, the speed is read by a meter on the back straight.
The time they gave us was the first lap. The second lap was a 195, 145.
Okay.
So you were right. Your second lap was faster.
Yeah, okay. That's it?
That's it. That's official. Oh, I think we can get a little bit more out of the car too, but I don't want you to have to try and find it because it's going to be...
Tape up the nose and...
Tape up the nose, stiffen up the rear bar.
It's getting late in the day, with records needing to be set soon.
So it's 3 o'clock, and we've got until 5:30. There's still a possibility we could do some more tests.
Why don't you let Jay beat up on the beat-up car, on the beater car? How do you call a $500,000 car a beater car?
Well, it'll be in that beater car where Jay just might have the fastest run of his life. Many Porsche fans have had long love affairs with their brand of supercar, from classics to new rides. And some owners have been lucky enough to collect more than a few. The fun can come with simply remembering the list.
A 91 cab, a 97 cabriolet that lasted, well, on my street it lasted about 5 days. And they found what was left of it in a dumpster in downtown LA. It was not a pretty thing. I owned one of the only 3 wide-body cabs made in '98 by the factory, and 2001 cab was my last one.
Porsche lovers know why that list was long.
Porsche's always been really top in fit and finish and detail, mechanical perfection. Anywhere you look, it's a highly tooled, finished product, you know. If you like fine machinery, those are the thing to have.
And that same appreciation for quality goes on at Automotive Legends, where they are dedicated to reproducing the 550 Spyder.
It is a car that has a long pedigree. I have customers all the time telling me my dad had one, and as a kid we grew up, and when I get successful I want to buy a Porsche.
And today, even the most discriminating Porsche owners love the retained style of the reproductions.
Looking at it, you know, just comparing them, I mean, they got the headlights right, they got the, I mean, it was bitching, you know, and they're, for the money, they're great.
We do a lot of things that the customer never sees, just because we need to know that inside what you can't see is as beautiful and as heavy duty as what's outside. Then we feel proud. Because we build the cars all the way through, we can't cut any corners. We can't cheat and say, well, nobody's going to know this is there. Hey, it's our work. We've got to do it right the first time.
2 items done right are the seats, made less degradable than the originals.
The original seats were done in aluminum, so they were not able to handle the beating and twisting. So pretty much when you're trying to buy an original seat, so you find it all rusted out.
The cars have relatively modest prices, around $20,000. For that, people think you own a collectible that was really quite unique.
Driving them is amazing. It's a little bit different car to drive. The engineers wanted you to have an experience that you were driving something that was special.
I think the fact that they just built such a precision, reliable sports car that you can drive it every day in traffic, you can take it out on the highway and take it for a real run, and it just performs. And it's nice to have a car that functions on a daily basis and for special occasions. You don't want just a unique sports car that's only good for the weekends, because what do you do the rest of the time? You don't get to enjoy it.
I don't think anybody in their right mind would take something as rare as a true 550 Spyder and drive it on a regular basis. I mean, it's just, you know, if something bad happened to it, it's not like you can go get another one.
But you can drive the reproduction worry-free. Still, you might want to be careful with this 959.
Everybody who grew up in the era I grew up, they grew up staring at a couple posters. One of them was the Lamborghini Countach, and the other one was the 959, the silver 959 with a tricolor red interior. And I got one that's got almost no miles on it. It's a brand new car, and it sat in customs in Canada for 3 years before I could bring it in. My car was sitting next to Bill Gates' car in customs forever because they wouldn't let his come in either. If you take into consideration the technology that Porsche built into this car in the 80s, I mean, it's better than a lot of the technology that's out there now 20 years later.
And Porsche got that technology from rides like their 962 race car.
Almost everything back here is especially for the day, is really technologically advanced. I love the way they do the inboard suspension. The sway bar, I think, is really cool because it's got this big mechanism back here, and it's a blade type sway bar, so they'd rotate the sway bar, or they rotate this blade to soften or stiffen up the bar. It was all business with these guys. Everything went in here for a purpose.
Yes, it was all business for Porsche back then, and it still is now, as Jay Leno and David Donahue run their new Carrera GTs at the Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Today, we've learned one thing from a pro.
It's not as easy as it looks.
And Jay's learning that very thing as he gets track and driving lessons from David.
At these speeds, a fraction of a second it takes to recover from a mistake covers so much distance that you end up in a wall. So you can't afford to really have any mistakes. You really have to be intuitive what the car's about to do instead of reacting to what it's already doing, because there's just no room.
Well, aside from setting a record, Jay's goal is simple.
I just want to be right below crashing.
And when will you know you're right below crashing?
Right before I crash.
This run is one of Jay's best, but as he picks up speed into turn 3, disaster. Hitting about 190, Jay's car spins 5 full rotations. As David races to see if Leno hit the wall, Jay heads back to the pits.
We just saw the beginning of the spin, and then you disappeared from our sight. We were waiting for that thud.
Oh, I just cooked a little too much. I got a little sideways, and then started spinning. And I hit the brakes. I just saw the wall come, and I got off the brakes. And then I assumed there wasn't any wall. I got on the brakes again. Then when I saw more wall, I got off the brakes, and it was kind of like driving on ice there a little bit. But it was all right. Looked exciting.
Well, Jay doesn't need to feel like a dunce over losing control of a donor car in front of a pack of race pros, but he is going back out there to have a final shot at the record book. Jay will first have a warm-up run before he goes for some standing starts. With each lap, Jay speeds up. His averages range from 156 up to 180.884. After spinning out, he got back in and pushed the Carrera even harder. Now Jay will attempt official standing starts. He's amped after his last set of laps, feeling more in control of this supercar. From the line, Jay accelerates to 156.603, a standing start record for a closed course. Not bad for a comedian.
It's faster than the other car, surprisingly. Well, this car seemed faster.
Now it's David's turn to see if he can get some flying start records. That means he'll already be rolling when he accelerates up to the car's maximum potential. David has set a closed course 2.66 mile track record of 196.301 miles per hour.
196?
Man, your skid marks are something else. Holy cow.
You see where I got off it, and then I got on it, and then I got off it, and then I got on it?
I'm glad I'm not that guy.
They've achieved their goals and realized the potential of an amazing ride.
Porsche, there is no substitute.
And now it's Jay and David into the winner's circle. And they've arrived ready to celebrate.
You know, this is starting to look like foreplay. Hey, it's cheaper than gasoline.
For Jay, this has been one very fast day.
Well, David, thank you very much. And I know I'm gonna invite David to tonight's show. He taught me how to drive a race car. I'm gonna teach him how to do stand-up. So hopefully he'll be doing stand-up someday on the Tonight Show. What do you think? You want to give it a shot?
I think you ought to think about. There's not going to be any records set. For sure.
Oh, there might be a record set. It just won't be a good one.
A good one. Right.
By setting a closed course flying start record on this track, David continues his father's legacy, with Mark Donohue having set a closed course record 30 years earlier.
There's only a few experiences like this that I've been through in my life, and it equals driving the 917-30 that Porsche invited me to do back in '93, that my father raced, and that was the car that set the record here originally 30 years ago. So it gives me a lot more respect for what my father was able to accomplish. I mean, he went 25 miles an hour faster, and I tell you, every mile an hour you know.
Well, big things happen here at Talladega, a special place in the world of racing. And back in a special place in Malibu, builders pay tribute to a Hollywood icon and to Porsche. And to be more specific, the ride known as the 550 Spider.
This thing attracts young and old and thumbs up all the time on the freeway. and I don't know why, really. And it's so recognizable by so many people. I believe it's because of the James Dean situation. It's been so much on television, and people have, you know, connected the Spider with him.
And from one star to another, here's a shout out to modern technology.
This part of the Porsche legend ended pretty well. You know, Dean got killed, but luckily we made it okay. That shows you how far cars have come in the last 50 years. Traction control, ABS, airbags, air conditioning, seat belts. If you're going to spend that kind of money for a car, boy, you really get your money's worth. I mean, it's truly, truly overbuilt. I mean, this thing didn't overheat. Nothing. Oh, the fan just came on. Excuse me.
Jay's a great driver who's not big on taking credit.
The car pretty much drives itself. I mean, if I can get this to go 182 on a lap, that means Carrot Top could too, you know.
Whether it's track or road, it's tough to top Porsche.
Get in a convertible, go for a drive up the coast, you feel a whole lot better about everything in your life. I think that the same thing is true for everybody. This is about it. So I'm ready to die now. I'm happy.
And in Hollywood, this, as you can see, is where the script reads, roll credits.